All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Hunt for the Decepticons Deluxe Class Terradive. Another one of the really cool designs from Hunt for the Decepticons. Terradive here is a Decepticon, turns into this very cool backwards swept jet. I don't know if this is really based on anything specific, but it's a really neat design. And another one of the really cool features of this guy is that he comes with a trident as his weapon, which honestly is probably my least favorite part of the figure just in terms of how this is executed, but still it's cool to see because it's not really a weapon that you see a lot on Transformers. It does look good. My problem with it is just that it's pretty flimsy. Like, it has this hinge in the middle, so it's kind of like floppy in the mid joint. The like trident bits don't really stay up how they're supposed to a lot of the time. That mechanism just like doesn't work a whole lot anymore, but still it's a cool weapon. In terms of storage for this mode, the top section here, it's notionally supposed to like open and close these when you like pull it up and down this joint. That doesn't really work anymore. Like, as you can see, it kind of closed them, but it doesn't really do a great job of, oh, okay, of course now it's doing it, but you can see it still isn't working 100% of the time. But you can just kind of click those into place, and then you take this whole section, you fold it up like that, and there's a tab on the end here that goes into the slot on this bit to lock everything in place. And then on the bottom of the jet here, he has this little bit right here where you can clip it in, and it's just using the 3mm clips that they were using a lot during this time. And then when you hinge that back down, this part of the handle can also clip into this gray piece, just like that. So he's got, all things considered, pretty unobtrusive weapon storage, because it all pretty much just hangs out underneath the jet, which I really appreciate. It does block the landing gear here, so you have to take it off to actually fold up the front landing gear. And that's another thing about this guy, is that the front landing gear, at least, is kind of difficult to get out once you have it like fully locked in place. Like, if you just fold it down like that, it's fine, but if you actually like click it into place, like, it's really difficult. Like, my nail would probably give before, getting this back out again. I usually just have to use a tool. Well, frankly, I just usually leave it clipped in there, but it's like, if you actually want to get it out again, it's got a little pull tab, but it's not a pleasant thing to do. And I feel like eventually that's just going to snap or something, and it's going to be permanently stuck in there. I don't think you can, you know what, I'll try. I'll just leave it like that and see if it can actually just like stay like that, but I'm pretty sure it gets clicked in for transformation. Yeah, no, otherwise pretty cool jet mode. I really appreciate that the Trident actually stores, even though, I'm not 100% like a fan of this weapon just because of how flimsy it feels, but I do appreciate that it actually has a place to go in both modes. But in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, so you can see what it looks like with an average modern deluxe. And for an average modern jet deluxe, here he is with Needle Nose from Legacy Evolution. I cannot remember, but that's what the two of them look like together. And to get onto transformation, he's got some pretty cool things going on. I do appreciate, like, he does have some bits of his robot that are just kind of hanging out underneath the jet, like the legs here. But unlike a lot of jet formers, his arms actually become part of the jet, which I think is really cool. So he's got some neat tricks. Like I said, we'll just put away the landing gear. We'll leave that one not clicked in to see if it can stay not clicked in. You want to basically take the wings here. They'll just kind of untab from a couple places here, and then just unpeg the legs and bring them out to the side like that. Then you can take the wings. They're on these little armatures, which I always find a little bit confusing because it's got like this separate like double hinge here, which isn't totally necessary. I mean, it's necessary in terms of like untabbing it and then rotating it around, but it's, it always confuses me because I want to like intuitively think that this hinge would go the other way, but it actually stays in the same place. It twists around this little turntable and then tabs back in like this, and then the wing itself rotates up and then tabs on to that bit on the underside there, just like that. So, the wing doesn't actually, use the double hinge just aside from untabbing itself. So it's always a little bit counterintuitive if you don't remember how it works, in my opinion. But then we can just take the feet, fold them out, and then flip out the heels as well. And then he has this really neat transformation step of taking the front part of the jet and pulling it out like that. I love when they use the different sections of the paint deco to actually be separation points. Like, it all goes along the the black stripe here and then the front, where that's actually where it separates. I just think that's a really cool way to do it. And then you fold down this bit here, and then there's a few things that you kind of want to do at once. You want to flip this whole section around like this, but then also flip this around because you want the ledges of this black piece to kind of sit with the ledges of the waist piece like that. So it can rotate around like that, and then you can push that back into place, and it will kind of push out this little cage to sit over the cockpit. Then we can just bring the legs down like this. You want to take this entire top section, rotate it around 180 degrees, take these little side fins here and just fold them in like this to be part of the chest design. And then this back section here, you kind of want to undo this panel. It's kind of loose, so it usually just kind of undoes itself. But then you take the back thrusters here, untab them from each other, and then rotate them out like this, and then rotate them down like this. These will end up being the arms. And then you take this entire section and kind of double hinge it over itself. And then this little hook tab here will go into this spot on the back of the jet, just like that. And then rotate. Well, I guess you kind of have to do that first. Hold on. Wow. Okay. Now it's like really stuck in place. There we go. Take this black section with the tail fins and then also the arms, and rotate that up. And then you can tab that into place. Then open up this panel, flip the head up and block it into place. Just put that onto the back. Take these white armature sections and they'll just tab into the body here like that. And then for his hands, you just open up the forearms and then flip around the thrusters and flip out the hands and then close them back up. Kind of a, classic hand reveal transformation step there that a lot of figures have. And there we have Terradive in his robot mode. And yeah, I love that transformation. I think that especially the way that the arms work and the whole thing like flips around, it makes for a really, really cool looking robot mode. I love the chest design with the nose cone sandwiched between the two like side fins. I think that's really cool. I love his head sculpt there. This mold was also used in, I want to say, BotCon for a new version of Beast Wars Depth Charge, and I definitely see that. I feel like that works really well, as a different design for Depth Charge, because obviously it doesn't turn into a manta ray, but despite the fact that he's a jet, maybe it's just because his name is Terradive and he comes with a trident, but he does have kind of like a weird aquatic feel for him, which, I don't know if orange is like really the best color scheme. Like, I feel like if this guy came in other color schemes, then I'd probably like those a little bit better. Aside from the depth charge one, I don't think that this mold was reused for any other color scheme, but I don't totally remember. But still, just a really, really cool looking robot mode design. In terms of the trident, if you want to store it, I'll show this off first since it's, already folded up. You can just tab it onto the back there like that. And unfortunately, because this gray panel doesn't like really tab in all that well, it does tend to flop around a little bit, but it's not too bad. And then you can, vary where you actually plug it in. If you want to do it like that, it's a little bit more stable, but then he's got the hinge kind of sticking up over his head. So I usually do it down, there like that. But if you want him to actually hold it, obviously we can just open it back up again, and you can kind of feed it through to his hands. And then these kind of raised sections are where he can actually hold it. So, you can get him holding it just like in one hand, kind of have it like propped up like that. Or you can like feed it through his fingers like that. So this side he's holding that bit, and then this side he's holding that bit. He's got wrist swivels, luckily, so it's actually, pretty feasible to get him holding it two-handed. Again, because that he's got this like kind of flimsy hinge in the middle, it does mean that, like, I don't know, it always feels a little bit risky kind of putting it in his hands and like moving it around. But still, you can get a pretty good pose there with him holding the trident, which is definitely pretty cool. And again, it's got a place to go in both modes, so that's nice. It's just unfortunate that the trident itself is a little bit flimsy, because I really do like how it actually integrates with the figure when all is said and done. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, has a pretty good range here, can rotate around and gets a decent amount of wiggle back and forth there. The shoulders are on swivels right here, which, kind of bump into the tail fins at a certain point, but mostly it works pretty well. And then can hinge out to the side like that, only about that far, but that's okay. It's got a bicep swivel. Because of his transformation joints, he's got a double hinged elbow, which folds up all the way. He's got a wrist swivel, which is nice. Nothing at the waist. Hips are on ball joints, which can go forward and back before they kind of bump into this black section and out to the side. He's got thigh swivels, 90 degrees of bend at the knee, And then the feet don't have ankle tilts or anything because they are just kind of sculpted in that slight, A stance, but they can tilt forward and a little bit back from their, resting flat position, but definitely a lot forward, which is nice. So, aside from the lack of a waist swivel, he's got pretty decent articulation in terms of comparisons in this mode. Here he is again with sideswipe and needle nose, just so you can see what he looks like with some average modern deluxes. He's a fairly decently tall figure, a little bit taller than sideswipe, but a little bit shorter than needle nose, so kind of right in the middle there. And then here he is with some other Hunt for the Decepticon figures that I took a look at recently, with Hailstorm and Brimstone and Sunspot. I like the four of them as a little group together. Again, these little Hunt for the Decepticon figures were, kind of like halfway in between, like movie aesthetic and like, Generations aesthetic. Definitely leaning more onto the movie side, but a little bit less sort of just like, kind of guys made out of knives with no distinguishable features in their face that were just, a bunch of like little spiny pieces of metal. I like these guys because they feel like they actually have more character to them, even though they also still have all that extra, like movie detail where they've got all the little tiny pistons and, little greebly bits all over the place. But still, I feel like that they look pretty cool together. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to Terradive. A really nice figure. Again, he comes with a fun, unique weapon, but it's not my favorite part of the figure just because it is a little bit flimsy. But otherwise, I think that he, like despite that, he does use it pretty well. I love that it actually has storage in both modes, which for a big ridiculous weapon like a trident is quite an accomplishment. I just wish it held together a little bit better, but still, pretty cool figure. Definitely would recommend him. Fun transformation, good in both modes, and fun weapon integration. But yeah, that's all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Hunt for the Decepticons Deluxe Class Terradive.